All right, let's bring in the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, the absolute legend, seeing us bicker like freaking teenagers. Let's bring in the doc, because I would love to get the doc's opinion on this schedule. Please welcome John Maakaron, a.k.a. the DOC. How we doing, Doc?
Listen, guys, I'm enjoying the week, enjoying some carrots.
Oh,
It's a great Wednesday. I want to let you guys know sometimes there are weeks that just click all over the place, and it's just great with the schedule. You guys are talking and debating. You guys are wild. I'm seeing some 13, 14 win predictions. It's the best time of year. The site blew up. The YouTube is hot. A lot of action. I love it. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of my predictions. I have my own personal opinions about the schedule, and we'll talk about it, but I like the chances of the Lions getting over 10 wins.
Well, Doc, let's just start off. You saw the schedule, and the big thing we were kind of going back and forth about was the early schedule. I think the Lions with new coordinators struggle early. I mean, I guess their version of struggle, which is a winning record, but I don't think they have this hot start with new coordinators. And then they kind of pick it up as the season goes on. But you look at that kind of part of the schedule early on where they play some really good teams. When you look at that, look at the totality of it, how many games do you have them winning? And you can highlight maybe some games where you're a little like, ugh, that's a tough one. I'm going to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I look at the schedule. First, let's start personally. Man, if you're a reporter, I am going to have to invest in some coffee. A lot of primetime games, a lot of games that are going to end late. So this schedule is not great on an older man, but I'm going to have to now get in shape over training camp. I got to get into my own training camp to cover this team with the schedule. I think only 6 1:00 games, Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night. This team has earned the right to be in prime time. So personally, the schedule is brutal for the DOC because Thanksgiving and Christmas. Oh man, it's when I ran that by the wife, she just rolled her eyes and did her thing, and I have to pay up to get back in the good graces. So I'm out of the doghouse, but it cost me a pretty penny. But no, when I look at the schedule to start, I love the schedule to start. It's after the bye week. I got the Lions going 5-2 before the bye. I got them beating the Packers. I got them whooping the ass of the Bears. Benedict Johnson's going to come to Ford Field and get booed out of town.
Come on, Doc.
I see greatness. And then, of course, like everybody else, I think the Ravens game is going to be very challenging and got that being a loss. Then you come back and you whoop on the ass of the Browns. They're frauds. Hopefully Shedeur plays so we can get some intrigue, maybe some ticket sales. But after that, maybe you take a loss to the Bengals. So there's a stretch there to start the year that's really tough. But I look at the opportunity to play in prime time against the Chiefs and Buccaneers as being opportunities to win. The stretch after the bye could present the big, and most people are going to look at that, and it's going to be the biggest challenge where you get the Vikings, Commanders, and Eagles. That's going to be the tough stretch after the bye week. And if you can be in that neighborhood of 6-2, 6-3, you'll be okay. Because then you start whooping ass again. Right around week 12, Giants, Packers, and Cowboys. You got to win those games. So overall, I got this team. Listen, I love those that are coming out with 13-4 and
Thanks,
maybe
Doc.
12-5. That's a little bit beyond my ability to put that on paper. I got 11-6 reasonable for this football team to have some ups, have some downs, but an opportunity to win double-digit games. That closing stretch there with the opponents of the NFC North with the Vikings and the Bears, a little bit tough. I have that being a little bit of a challenge, but this schedule, guys, I listened to what Booner was saying. I agree. Once you go through it, I think it prepares you for a playoff run. If you get through the schedule 11, 12 wins, you're ready to go. You should be hopefully healthy and ready to perform in the postseason. I love the schedule professionally. Personally, when I saw that this morning, guys, there was nobody more down on earth that I was like, Jesus, man, I can't stay up this late. I'm going to be up till 2, 3 in the morning, half of the damn NFL season. And it's just a grind. And I'm going to go to a lot of these games. I definitely want to see Baltimore. I definitely want to see Joe Burrow, the Chiefs in primetime, the Eagles. My goodness, it's going to cost me a pretty penny this year, but it's going to be worth it because fans, get ready. It's going to be a fun-ass season with that schedule, the way it's laid out, it laid out pretty good for the Lions. In my
real
opinion.
quick, Doc, I don't know if I heard you. You said Baltimore. You said 5-2. I have them 5-2. Who's the other loss?
Let's see here.
I think it's at Cincinnati.
5-2.
Could be
see
wrong.
Schedule. No. Yeah, Bengals. I got at Bengals week 5, 35-24 loss, 3-2.
All right.
Then they get back on the winning ways with wins against the Chiefs and the Buccaneers to get to 5-2.
Contender. Yeah, Doc, I want to ask you this because this was the big argument that we were having. And I'm kind of a two-part question, I guess, Doc. But you do look at the contending teams that they play, and this was kind of the pushback that I had with those guys, or with Klotz, with the record he had versus them. That, let's say the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles, the Commanders, and like the Rams, those 5 teams there. If they end up, and this is where I'm at with that, to where kind of going after the season, how they do in those games, what they would be able to do in the playoffs, and where this team's at. If they go 1-4 in that kind of stretch of football versus those teams, where's your confidence level if they can win a Super Bowl? Do you still think they're contenders? Because that was kind of the conversation we were having, to where I believe, hey, if they come out of that and those 5 teams and they go 1-4, it's hard to believe that they can go win a Super Bowl at that point. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's a great early debate. Is those games against the tougher opponents, you want to play your best. And I think Dan Campbell will get the guys rising to the occasion. It's going to be those games against the quote unquote subpar teams like the Browns and things like that, the Giants, that maybe you sneak in an unexpected loss where they compete a little bit harder, they get up for you. So I do think that the Lions are prepared. You look, the one thing that I'm going to look for early in the year is the defense. How does the defense acclimate with some new pieces in Calvin Shepard's scheme? Because the offense, John Morton said he's not going to touch it all that much. It's pretty straightforward. Him and Dan Campbell are going to work together to make it so that this offense probably is going to get to maybe the first quarter of the season starts off a little slower, but I expect this offense to average north of 28 points a year. My biggest concern will be the defense. How does it acclimate? You lose Carlton Davis. I want to see how DJ Reed looks. You definitely want to see how Terrion Arnold. Someone in this conversation had to feel the need, I believe, to post who Terrion Arnold's going to go up against this year. My God, I was like, friends, do not let friends play cornerback, especially in the NFC North. My God, I saw that. I had to throw in a comment there to my guy. But I do think that the Lions will step up and play at a high level, and especially early on. Dan Campbell remembers when the Ravens not only outclassed them, they just made them look like they didn't belong on the field. That'll be another first early test. I can't wait to see it. That Baltimore game, everyone's telling me, yeah, go to Baltimore. And to the commenter in the comments, love you guys always. Yeah, no, if my wife will never let me go to a game on Christmas, but it's just I got to be attached to the computer. I'm going to watch it, cover it from home. I'm never going to get on a plane. Are you crazy? I want to open presents with my family, but after that, it's basically open the presents and then it's content galore, like you guys will know. But yeah, no, there's no way I'm going to be battling no airports, or I choose family first, but I just got to write and content and videos and all that whole shebang. So basically family will be over and I'll be sitting in the corner typing away, and that sucks, but it's okay. We'll figure it out how to manage covering an NFL team, because they know how happy it makes me, how excited I am working today and getting on with you guys, and then doing my own podcast after this and getting to all the comments and emails and everything like that. And then listen, I'm humble enough, because I don't think any content creators or beat writers will say it openly. Thank you to the leakers. Thank you to the crew that are out there posting what was going on. It allows guys like me to because the sources definitely talk to me, but they're not giving me the schedule. They made that pretty clear. Thank you for the work that you did. You make my life easier, because if the schedule came out without me knowing who was on it, I would still be typing takeaways, odds, things that are content based. Without the leakers, it would be a nightmare on today. And you guys out there that are doing it, Lions Royalty is out there. Always want to give him credit. He appeared on my podcast one time, and I asked him how the hell he figured that out. Thank you to the leakers. You make our job easier, and it's very fun to be able to know the schedule by like 5 o'clock. It's amazing.
Hey, shout out to him, Doc. Shout out to him. And you
Shout out to the
mentioned
Leakers. Thank you.
you brought up the Browns. You brought up the Giants. Got to play the Steelers. Got to play some other teams that are not so great, Doc. Which one of those do you think will be the trap game? Because there's going to be games that some of us expect them to they win and they lose, and they'll be expected to lose in some games and they end up winning. But what's one of those games you think it's a trap where, hey, eventually it's inevitable for every team, pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it. I have it as a win, but that Giants game looks interesting, right? What if Dart gets hot? You look at those young receivers. That could be a game where you're coming off, a stretch there. Let me look here real fast on what I got. You're coming off of a situation in which it is a tough game at the Eagles on Monday night, and then you got to follow that up against the Giants. Pay attention there, because those games that you look at and you say, all right, there's Sunday night, maybe just a little bit less preparation, but I don't see too many trap games. I just feel like I'm confident that the Lions are not going to lose a ton of back-to-back games. There's just some teams that you look at early on, maybe the Browns, you overlook them because the whole world, that game could be a 7 to 10 point. Lions opens up as a pretty hefty favorite for the Lions, probably one of the biggest opening odds of the year. But that Giants game screams to me like, Brian Daboll knows what the Lions are about. They've been to joint practices. You have a young quarterback. And so you maybe in a situation in which you play Sunday night, you ride high. If you get that win against the Eagles, you come in and you play the Giants. Everybody in the world, for the most part, it's going to predict you to win. So that little stretch there could be something to pay attention to. But I don't see trap games with Dan Campbell. You see week to week guys that they don't ride the emotional roller coaster. They definitely don't fall into the traps of listening to guys like me and the guys that dangle the carrots to talk about some interesting topics that are out there. They ride the wave pretty even keel, and that's what you see in this football team that hasn't lost back-to-back games in for nearly forever. So I'm excited, man. It's one of those teams where there's going to be storylines galore. It's going to be about seeing some development from some young guys, and I'm sure you guys were excited. John Morton came out there, and it was like on Tuesday, it was the Jameson Williams Love Fest. If that's true, if that's more than just PR, if he's in the books, if he's next level, if he's that guy, because that was one of my final questions at the end of the season was to Ben Johnson, to Benedict. I said, hey, how do you get JMO to Justin Jefferson level, like that kind of production? And he said he just got to have a full offseason. And he pretty much said if he has an offseason, does the work, puts his nose into the playbook and gets after it, sky's the limit. It could be a big year for Jameson Williams. If that's the case, now you're talking realistically this football team winning some playoff games. But that's where the fear comes in, is that, if it does get tight, if we're all overhyping this Lions team and it's 9-10 wins and you end up going on the road, maybe against the Rams, you want to go up against the Rams in the playoffs, the Eagles, the Commanders. So getting as many wins as possible and as many home games, as much as it was critical last year, even more critical this year.
John, what does a breakout season for JMO even look like? Because John brought it up, like breakout season, and then you have Scotty Montgomery saying he's entering that next level. Like JMO's coming off 1,000 yards. I think it's 7 TDs. He didn't have obviously a ton of receptions, but in your mind, when you hear that, when you hear breakout, what does that look like to you? What would define as a breakout year for him?
Absolutely. In that conversation of being 1A with Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot of primary targets, involved heavily in game planning, a difference maker consistently. So I'm looking at over 100 receptions, over maybe 1,300 yards and over 10 touchdowns. That's breakout. That's standard level WR1 type production. And if he can get to that level, that just makes everything easier for Jared Goff, makes everything easier for John Morton. It adds a level of explosiveness as well. If he can become that Justin Jefferson type where, hey, you have to take him away from the game and game plan for him, that just opens things up for 4 or 5 other guys and makes things so much easier because you literally can't zone and double everybody. So with the amount of offensive weapons this team has, and then you can mix in a young rookie in the mix there too, my goodness, it's just it's exciting. That's the big thing that excites me, is that, the ticket prices are going to suck, but I do think on more occasions than not, you're going to get your money's worth in terms of entertainment value, and you're going to see a lot of touchdowns from this Detroit Lions team. So get ready. If that's the case, if J-Mo's ready to go, look out. This offense could be unstoppable.
Do you think, Doc, and I know you actually obviously you guys talked with John Morton just the other day. What was the takeaway after some of the comments he made talking about, hey, he's going to keep this offense basically essentially the exact same with his little twist to it? What are your thoughts on the confidence level now moving forward with John Morton in this offense after kind of sitting down the other day with him?
Yeah, no, man, that was 7 coaches that appeared in front of us. And
it's a long day.
Long day. And guess what? We hit the defense tomorrow. So same time, same situation. So the entire defensive staff will address the media, and it'll be fun to check in with a lot of the young players and what the coaching staff thinks of where the Lions are at defensively. But offensively, look, Morton is pretty smart. And Ben Johnson said it when he departed. He basically said, look, it's a Ferrari. It's ready to go. And you look at the pieces there, just simply put, look at the roster. Jahmyr Gibbs expected to take another step forward. I think John Morton is salivating to be excited to be a guy that has the opportunity to have all these weapons. Such a different opportunity than he had with the Jets, where the talent is there. And for those that just real fast say, do I doubt J-Mo? Well, there are plenty of mouths to feed. And sometimes, guys, you recognize that it's not like intentional, but if you keep J-Mo at a lower level, when you start to go to negotiate a contract, you go, hey, well, you're kind of earning, this many stats. It's kind of comparative and maybe in the $20 million range. If he starts getting into the Justin Jefferson class of production, which would be great, now you're talking in the 30, 35 million. You see what I'm saying here? So it's not done intentionally. The Lions are pretty good about that, but it's with so many weapons, it's just unimaginative that J-Mo could be like a superstar in terms of production. He'll be part of the mix, but there's just a lot of mouths to feed. And that's a great thing for John Morton is that, look, back to basics, not too difficult. Foundation is run the ball. 3rd down and short, move the chains. Be aggressive at times, but wiser. Like Ben Johnson, I think, got too full of himself. It kind of became clear in the postseason when you have Jameson Williams throwing the football when you're down 10. That game still could have been within reach if Ben Johnson didn't make that brutal Benedict type call that was costly. Jameson Williams throwing a pass was not in the Rolodex of what was needed in that game against the Commanders. So if John Morton can say, hey, 3rd down and 1, hey, let's maybe even use a fullback and get the 1st down. Let's pound the rock, move the chains. So let's do some things that are a little bit smarter than Ben did. Ben got a little bit too excitable there with the empty backfield sets and pass plays and things that were just kind of unusual there, trying to trick the defense. Look, John Morton has a plethora of weapons, and he's got a quarterback in his prime. If this offense does not meet the expectation, I would be shocked. There's just too many weapons, and they're running basically. They should run the same offense. And I do think that here's the thing too, that I want the comment and all the listeners to remember that Dan Campbell is an offensive genius. He knows, working with John Morton, how to weekly put together the best game plan collaboratively to expose the weaknesses of the defense and get the player that they need to get over will get the production. And so I have no doubt because of Dan Campbell and John Morton and the sheer talent that's out there. So I'm so confident to see what this offense can do. My question marks lie a little bit more on the defense.
And kind of just while we're on the offense and John Morton, Doc, what do you expect to happen with Jared Goff efficiency-wise? I don't care about production as far as does he throw for 5,000 yards. When you look at Jared Goff on Sunday, Monday, Thursday night, whenever it is, do you think that in 2025 we're going to see a similar Jared Goff, a better version, or a worse version, given the fact there's a coordinator switch up? Because regardless, John Morton could be calling the great plays. But if they simplify that offense and it's just not fitting Jared exactly, it could sink or swim with this whole team. So what do you think we should expect out of Goff next year as far as efficiency standpoint?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It might not even be a bad thing too, because maybe you take a couple more deep shots. Jameson Williams you figure should be involved in the offense heavily and to take some shots. So the one thing I always look at too, obviously, is yes, efficiency, air yards. How many yards are they targeting in terms of each pass play? And then you look at it and you say, all right, with Jared Goff is the turnover margin. You want to make sure that he's throwing, making sure that this offense is getting into the end zone regularly, and kind of his turnovers kind of increased a little bit last year, and especially in the postseason. So I do see that maybe early on, that those first 4 games, because your opponents, and plus 2, you're facing better opponents, so they're going to be bringing the pressure, bringing the heat. Some of those games could look a little ugly. Maybe the Commanders, and they're on the road too, where it might be, a little bit challenging, where you get down a little bit and it forces you to throw. So I think it's a very fair question, but I do think that even though he might have, lower efficiency numbers, I still think this offense can move, because I think that when you have Jahmyr Gibbs in a running game, I think that there's going to be some more opportunities where there's explosive plays and opportunities for this offense to move the football a myriad of ways besides passing. And I think that Jared Goff, it's great, because I did ask the question. I said to David Shaw, I said, what do you think of Goff? And right away he was like, and actually something that was interesting too. I don't want to toot my own horn, but for the 30 seconds I will. I thought I asked a lot of pretty good questions. The coffee was hitting pretty good. I hit a lot of interesting stuff that I talked about. But something that you don't typically hear. You don't typically hear Mark Brunell elaborate quite a bit. He's pretty direct, straight to the point. He was saying when we asked about Jared Goff, and I asked, he said basically, Jared's done pretty much everything. It's time for him to win the Super Bowl, and he's hungry. David Shaw told me directly, like, that guy, the thing that I notice is he's hungry. And that's kind of what I wanted to hear about Jared Goff. Like, that loss should have pissed him off. He played horrible, and his offensive line let him down. He should come back with his hair on fire and be starving for a Super Bowl. That's the only thing that everyone knows now, is the last thing on his resume that will kind of lift the burden of criticism off of him. And literally, I'm old enough to remember, and some of you guys in the chat as well, the old timers, Steve Young was in the same boat, super talented, a little bit more mobile, just was in the shadow of his situation was crazy. That's when I was growing up, and he was battling the Giants and trying to get over the hump. And everyone was just calling him second fiddle, not a guy that can win. And when he won the Super Bowl, there's an iconic shot of a player lifting the weight off of his shoulders, right there on camera. So you want that for Jared Goff. I want to see him succeed, because he takes a lot of criticism playing the position. He's highly paid, but at the same token, all quarterbacks get a little bit too much blame and a little bit too much praise. But if there's a guy in Detroit that deserves an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl and win it, it's Jared Goff. He's the prototypical story that you'd want to see with what happened to him. So I'm excited to see the opportunity, and I really truly do hope he gets it. But of course, I have my doubts.
Yeah, Doc, I mean, just to ask you, kind of go back to the schedule a little bit. When you look at the NFC and just contenders, and we were talking about it earlier and going through teams and who are legit contenders, where are the Lions amongst these teams? When you look at the top of the NFC, you have the Eagles, and then you have the Lions, Commanders, Rams. Is that about what you're looking at too, in terms of like legit NFC threats? Or is there anyone else maybe you want to throw in there, or anyone you want to take out that maybe you don't think is quite that on that level?
No, great hierarchy.
And where do you think the Lions rank amongst those teams too right now?
Yeah. It's Lions are in the mix, top 5. It's tough at this point. Still 90-man rosters. We haven't seen, and we still have yet to see the vets out there on the field. Seeing what's going on with the rookies was very interesting. But I look at it and I say, the team that is emerging clearly is the Rams and the Commanders. The Eagles are the staple, and the Lions are right there in the mix. So those 4 are going to be very interesting. And a team that, you could pay attention to, that I don't think is going to, really take a big step, but you got to pay attention to them, is the Bears. I think that Ben Johnson is, the more you look at it, okay, yeah, we joke around, we call him Benedict, my nephew, and people tell me like, hey, yeah, we joke around, but he did help Jared Goff and installed an offense that once he got his hands into it, made it pretty prolific. And you got to remember too, in 2021, Anthony Lynn was brutal. It was like, oh my God, it was just basically, he wanted to run the ball with no creativity. and he got stripped of his Dan Campbell stripped Anthony Lynn of his play calling duties. It was like, we don't need that. We don't need whatever it is you're doing. We want to stop that. And Ben Johnson in the passing game kind of took over. So maybe not this year, but the Bears just seem like the more you look at what they can bring to the table with an athletic quarterback, some nice receivers, if they can figure out some deficiencies along the offensive line, look out. They can do some things, because Ben Johnson has that little bit of that, me against the world mentality that's similar to Dan Campbell, and he loved nothing less than to ruin the Lions season. And this schedule, one of the unique takeaways is you start the year against the division and you end the year against the division. You start the year bad against the Packers and the Bears. That's not good. So just pay attention to the Bears and what they're doing. And this division is wild. And I, like everybody else, I want to see what J.J. McCarthy looks like the first part of the season.
Doc, I just want to ask you, throw it out there just because it's kind of big news this week is the Trey Hendrickson stuff. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's starting to come back up to the surface again. Can Brad make that move? Are you in, out on that? Can we officially close the tables on that or close the doors on that? Or is there like a crack it open, keep the door open a little bit? I think might know where I stand, because I've been in arguments with people about it all week long. I would like to get your opinion on it.
Oh, are you like dangling the carrot for me to engage in some interesting conversation?
Oh, knew you wanted to talk about it, Doc.
It's interesting. You'd like to talk about a defensive end who spent 23 minutes complaining. It's an interesting topic, one in which a person might dangle some opinions, might want to check in and see if something clicks. You never know. It's interesting. People have opinions and they share them all over the place, on the radio. Here, you asked me about it. Look, my opinion's always more. I want more. But you're absolutely right. You're humble, you're honest, and there's a lot of ways of answering it and looking at it. You're more like, look, man, realistically, this is the 45th go-round of Trey Hendrickson. Why are we talking about it? And you're very honest and respectful in the way in which you defended it. Great points. I look at it like the reason why we keep talking about it is that Trey is kind of squeezing the Bengals a little bit more. 20 minutes to share that, hey, the team would definitely take back my money if I wasn't producing. I don't care that the defensive end market is high. Pay me. I need my money. And I respect him for doing it. That's what a professional athlete is entitled to do. When you produce, you are entitled to say, hey, I'm not playing under the terms of this contract. I've outworked it. So now it does lend to, I just wish that he wasn't expecting the $40 million, because I do think the Lions definitely would be interested. It's just really tough because they look at it like, you know what, we can try and take a gamble with Marcus Davenport, Ahmed Hassanin, as you properly say it, and this new young Cooper, who definitely shined. He was a player I think I did mention here last time when I was on, that he was somebody that definitely stood out. He was in the backfield and he was pressing it. So to your point, Booner, you get the bonus point for being realistic and being honest to say, hey guys, I mean, what's the realistic opportunity here? It's zero. It's basically zero. They're not doing it. I would be shocked. I think the next realistic move is keep battling the drum, keep coming on here and make a push for Zadarius Smith. That's the most realistic option in my opinion.
I love it. Doc, we appreciate you. The schedule release is going to be interesting. I mean, we're going to have the entire offseason to basically debate games and debate records. But until next Wednesday, we will catch you. Please check out Detroit Lions Sports Illustrated, the doc. He's grinding. He was grinding. I mean, pretty much grinding during the time he would have been on, still made time to join the show. So we appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me. Truly, I really do value the time. I look forward to coming on. You guys definitely bring and your work too. Credit to you guys. You guys are on it faster than I can blink. I'm like, my God, Booner's on there. Hopefully healed from his rash, feels better, and is grinding to to do the work needed. So, Booner, I'm proud of you.
Doc, I love how I appreciate you putting your problems on me, but I can confirm that Doc did text the boys. His rash is completely gone. It is gone. He is good. Right before he met John Morton, he was at the doctor's. They said, hey, you're good to go, and he's cleared. So he's not spreading the rash in the Lions locker room either.
No rash, baby. Let's get it right. I got the herpes, unfortunately, but
oh my
God. All clear, baby.
Oh,
see you next time.
Oh my!
See you, Doc.
In the
junkyard dog.
Oh my!
Oh man! Wow, that took a turn real quick.
That's a Doc way to leave.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested, or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise. officialctsports.com.